What's up, guys? I'm Brandon McReynolds, and this is the Clear 28 podcast, proven, driven, born to perform. And today we sit down with second to none fitness owner Ryan Von Rueden, great friend of mine, and also our strength and conditioning coach here at Clear 28. All right, well, Ryan, obviously you and I've been friends for such a long time, and man, I've worked with you, I've hung out with you, I've worked out with you, more so you pushing me along and carrying me uphill. But man, I've always respected you personally and professionally, and just how you help athletes be better, right? And coming in and training them, coaching them, helping them with their mindset. Quite honestly, providing a safe place for guys to lean on you and with some of their struggles and come in here and work. And for me, as we were building out Clear 28, something that was so important to me, as you know, was trying to find a way that our drivers that we work with never have an excuse, right? That they always have a place where they can go and train and focus on their human performance, and not just us working on just sales and contracts and things like that. So I'm super grateful for everything that you've done for our company, for me as a friend. One of the things I wanted to do today was definitely just learn more about you, because I know a lot of the times when I'm in the gym working out with you, which I need to get back in the gym a little bit more, but a lot of the times it's I think either drivers or athletes probably doing some venting, talking to you, and you're kind of listening, but I don't think enough people know how you got to this point. So walk me through, what were the early days like? Obviously, you probably grew up in sports. I know you played some football and things like that. How did you wind up here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and what sparked your interest about motorsports, and basically how did you get involved in this industry?
Sure. Well, growing up, I was a stick and ball athlete, right? Football, basketball, and track. I tried baseball when I was little, but had these big, thick, Coke bottle glasses, and couldn't pick up the ball to save my life, right? Could not hit the ball. Yeah. But I was fast, so I ran track instead, and then played that all the way through high school, and then football in college. Got hurt, actually off-season conditioning on a max back squat. Went for one more rep and didn't make it. And instead of bailing completely, I tried to catch it and ended up doing an RDL with 400 and some pounds on my back, which is not a good thing. So,
golly.
So L5 kind of got blown out there, and finished my career and got into coaching, and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for schooling, right? I was a physical education major. I thought I was going to go and coach and be a PE teacher, and not really the reason to go be a teacher, right, is so you could coach.
Right.
So I kind of sat down with the dean of our school and was like, hey, what are my options? I want to do something in sports. Initially wanted to be a PE teacher and a football coach, but I don't think being a teacher so I can coach is probably the right justification for being a teacher.
Sure.
Right? And he brought up strength and conditioning, which is an exercise science degree, and kind of asked him what I could do with that. And he's like, you could train athletes, you can train football teams. Basically, everybody that is an athlete above high school, you have to have a certain certification, and which I do have. But that's kind of what opens the doors to go get those jobs.
Right.
So I initially thought that I was going to go and do my work as a grad assistant and then be a football strength and conditioning coach. But I kind of saw the hours that they have, which isn't really conducive to having a family. Now there's a bunch of people that do have families. Just wasn't the opportunity that I wanted it to be or thought that it would be.
Right.
And so I ended up moving down to Indianapolis, and Jim Leo, who owns PitFit, came across him, and had an interview with him and started working for PitFit, back in 2006. And that's kind of how I fell into motorsports. I just fell into it.
Yeah. Who were some of the drivers, when you were in Indy working with Jim and PitFit, who were some of the drivers that I guess that would stand out that you were working with on a day-to-day basis up there?
So Scott Dixon, he was pretty young back then. But Scott Dixon was a daily person. Dario Franchitti, when he was in town, would work out there. Sam Hornish, who was an Ohio guy, but when he would be in town, he would work out there. I think they did some online stuff with Jim, and then in person when they were in the area. Other than that, they were really young when I was there, but have kind of come into their own. J.R. Hildebrand almost won the 500 a long time ago.
Yeah.
James Hinchcliffe. Who else was there?
Bunch of them.
Yeah, AJ Foyt the fourth. There was a bunch of the IndyCar people, right? That were PitFit was the place for them,
right?
Down there.
And how many years were you working?
I was there for 3 years, maybe 3.5 years before Kasey called me and invited me to come down here and train him and his dirt car guys, and that was back in 2009. So 3 years.
3 years. So you come down, make the jump, start working with Kasey Kahne out of. Did he have the shop already built here in like Talbot Point?
Yeah. So he had just built it. I want to say it was finished in May of 2009.
Yeah.
And then in August of 2009 is when he called me, and then I moved down here like end of October.
What was that transition like? I mean, because had you spent any time around NASCAR? Hardly at all.
Not at all.
Like
nothing.
Was pretty green coming into it.
100% green.
Yeah.
Really, motorsports in general. I've only been around it for 3 years, right? Like I was a stick and ball guy, and had. If you would have told me that my career would have been in motorsports, I would have told you were absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Like just kind of happened. But that transition, there was a lot of stuff that carries over from IndyCar, right? Because you're still a race car driver. There's still some of the same important features that you need to work on.
Sure.
Where I do think it was a pretty good advantage was having Kasey and his feedback, right? So I only had one guy that I really had to focus on, and he was pretty good at relaying information, right? And so trial and error, we just kind of fine-tuned his program and made it adaptable in what NASCAR needs, not necessarily what IndyCar needs.
So Kasey gets a hold of you, and he's looking for more one-on-one training, right? So, like, what does that grind look like? Because to me, and I could be wrong, I'm sure there's a few in our industry right now that are racing at the cup level that have their own strength and conditioning coach and their own trainer full-time. Like, what does that day-to-day grind look like? Just high level. Like, what is that like? You get down here with Kasey and you're working out with them every single day. I mean, that's a big commitment for the driver too, right?
100%.
To just completely, I guess, dive into that opportunity. So I applaud him a lot for that, because there's not a lot of guys doing that anymore from what it seems like. So what was that like?
It was pretty good. Like you said, dedication on his part, right? He worked out twice a day. It was tail end of the season, right? October. So we had a month left. He's going to kill me for saying this, but he threw up, I think 5 or 6 days straight.
Yeah.
And he was coming into the gym for a workout, and he's like, listen, I want to get sick today. I was like, well, you're in luck, because we don't have anything like that planned, right?
Right.
So part of it was kind of figuring out what his boundaries are, and he doesn't really have them, right? Like a lot of us have that voice in us that are like, hey, we need to pull back the pace a little bit.
Sure.
And he doesn't, which I love. I also don't have that.
Yeah.
So as far as his grind, it was probably 2 to 3 hours a day when we first started. My part, I had to do a little bit more research on, what is more involved in NASCAR, what are the differences between IndyCar, NASCAR, things like that. So I did a lot of research. I also trained the employees that worked for him at that point in time. So part of my day was corporate wellness. Part of it was sports performance. So I was there from 7 in the morning to 4 or 5 o'clock at night.
Golly.
And he would work out in the morning and then again in the afternoon.
So he was all in.
All in, 100%. I went on the road with him. So back then he had a lot of sponsorship engagements. And so he would plan those between races. And so we'd go out for 12 days at a time, and we'd go and be in a hotel gym somewhere or go find a gym somewhere.
Yeah.
So he took me on the road that first year to 2 years quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then some of that sponsorship activity decreased a little bit when he was with Hendrick.
Sure.
They didn't require as much. And so I stopped traveling quite as much. Daytona, I was always down there for speed weeks, usually every year.
Yeah.
Just because he's got a lot of downtime. But once he got to track, there wasn't a whole lot for me to do there.
So, and you were working with him. How many years was that, just the one-on-one and just working for Kasey and his company? How long did that go on?
That would have been, 2009. So just under 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's grinding.
Yeah. So 2018, which he ended up retiring in the middle of that season or 3/4 of the way through that season. 2018 is when I stopped working just solely with him.
Yeah. Wow. And not to speed through it, but like for me, like I remember you working with Kasey and being around you, and I think we met a couple times in passing, and you mentioned like during speed weeks you had a week and a half, 2 weeks, and people were all in the driver owner lot. They had the fitness center down there that's still there. I think I met you a few times being over in there. I'd come in there and act like I was doing something, but where I really started spending a lot of time around you was when you transitioned from that opportunity and started up your own deal and being over at Ricky Stenhouse's at his gym that you guys had built out together. What year did that start? Because obviously for me, all the years kind of blend together. I think for most of us, what year did you start up over there training multiple drivers and obviously working closer with Ricky?
So that would have been towards the end of 2018.
Gotcha.
So I stopped working solely for Kasey. I think it was April of 2018. Did a brief stint as the general manager at Champions.
Yep, I remember that.
And Ricky actually called me after the Coke 600. Might have been, I think it was the Tuesday after the Coke 600, and just kind of felt me out and was like, hey, I know you're not just working for Kasey anymore. What do you got going on? And so that was a couple-month conversation. And then in September or October of 2018 is when I kind of made that leap and was like, well, I'm going to kind of bet on myself and came up with a business agreement with Ricky and let's see where it takes us.
Yeah.
Right? So I started off with Ricky and a couple of female general population clients and 2 other drivers.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then we've got it up to where we had 13 at one point in time. That ended up being a little bit, maybe too many people at one time because it got a little bit diluted, I feel like.
Yeah.
And now we're sitting at 8 to 10, something like that. Yeah.
So you start doing that, and obviously, I can only assume, you're working with incredible talents, right? Kasey, Kahne. Obviously, you mentioned some of the drivers that you're around and exposed to that you were working with up in Indy, but working with Kasey, Kahne, who was, in my mind, he's not that much older than me, but was someone that I always looked up to and just aspired to be like, and especially behind the wheel. But working with him, working with Ricky, I think everyone in our industry knows how committed Ricky is in the commitment that he made to getting better off the track to help himself on the track with his strength and conditioning and his fitness, and really just diving headfirst into it. I applaud him, and I know you were a huge part of that too, helping both those guys through that journey. So that being said, as you start working with, and not to call anyone out, we won't get you in trouble or myself in trouble, but you're working with some pretty strong race car drivers, right? Both of them have won open wheel races, championships, and the majority of the things they've run in. You got a 2-time Xfinity champion working with Ricky. Obviously, Kasey's won anything and everything that he's ever done. What stands out, and it could be about one or the other, but what stands out about both of those guys in comparison, honestly, that you see where some drivers lack? Like, what sets guys like that apart? Because you and I have had this discussion so many times, and I was guilty of this myself, which is why I'm wearing this button down and not wearing a fire suit. But it's like, what a lot of people always bank on, well, if my equipment's better, or if my pit crew's faster, or just the what ifs, right? All these other conditions that are outside of the drivers, some of it their control. what are some of the 2 or 3 things that stand out about those guys and their work ethic and that you enjoyed working with them, but you also see a correlation as to why they were so successful on the track as well? I know Ricky's still racing, but what stands out about those guys?
There's a few things. I would say the number one thing is that they're both super competitive, and it doesn't matter if they're on the racetrack or if they're in the gym or if they're playing basketball. Like, they want to win at everything that they do.
Yeah.
And they will push beyond the limits to do that, right? There's been several times. I used to beat him a lot when we ran, and then there was a point in time where I no longer could beat him anymore. And then Kasey, I also used to be able to beat him at the beginning, and then I could never. And then there was one summer where I was probably in the best shape I've been in, and we went for this 4-mile run. We used to leave from KKR's race shop and then run Cornelius Road Park and come back. That was back when you could run on Cornelius Road before it was super busy.
Right.
And typically when I run with people, I keep them on my hip, right? Mm-hmm. And if I feel like I hear their footsteps coming, I pick the pace up because I don't want to slow them down.
Right.
So this particular run with Kasey, we did that for the whole run, right? And so we're coming back home, and we hit Truex's place, which is about a quarter mile from Kasey's race shop, and he's on my hip. So I pick up the pace. And then so he picks up the pace, and in about 10 steps, we're at a dead sprint at the end of a 4-mile run for the last quarter mile.
Damn.
And I literally looked at him. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like,
yeah.
Are we actually doing this? And he blamed me. He said it was your fault. And so we sprinted all the way back, died. And I was like, what was that all about? And he's like, I've been trying to run with you for the past 4 miles, but you wouldn't let me. Every time you just kept bumping up the pace. Yeah. So I finally said the heck with it, and I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make you suffer too.
Yeah.
So that's like, just that competitive nature of just
next level,
right?
Yeah.
And Ricky's the same way. We were doing laps around his place, and I'm also very competitive, and I don't have that voice inside of me that tells me to quit. So we ran, I think it was a 1.3 mile loop at like a 6:30 pace.
Yeah.
And then we had a 2-minute break, and we're going out for lap 2. And 3/4 of the way through lap 2, I have to pull over and throw up, and Ricky keeps going, right? So I try to catch up to him, but every time I try to catch up to him, I end up throwing up again. So that was the day that the torch was passed from me to him on that one. So again, both of those guys very, very similar to, they want to be the best at everything that they do, not just driving a race car.
Yeah.
The other thing is the commitment to the process, right? Like, Kasey was working out twice a day. There's been times where Ricky would work out twice a day. And then times of days, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's been times where Ricky's in the gym at 5 a.m. because that's the only time he can get it in.
Yeah.
I've also seen him in there at 7:45 at night because that's the only time he can get it in, right?
Yeah.
And Kasey was very similar to that too. I feel like some people find a way to not work out. Like, if I work out at 10 o'clock, I work out at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But if I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, now I can't work out that day. And I think those two shift their schedules around, or be like, hey, the only time I can work out is 5 a.m. Can we roll then?
Yeah,
right?
It seems to be like it's just a top priority to them versus making every excuse, which, hey, I've had this discussion a bunch, a lot of people, the majority of people, whether being in sports or working at an office, no matter what their profession is, it's easier to not do it, right?
Correct.
But to your point, it's just they have that character and that determination and that passion to be the best at it. So they're not going to – that's the one thing that they're not going to pass up on, is that opportunity to get better. No, I applaud it. It's something that, as I look back over my time, and it's something that, as you know, working with a lot of the drivers that we work with, it's trying to get them to understand that big picture thinking, right?
Yeah.
And because if you're not willing to go into the gym and do a lot of the hard things, then it's going to be hard to sustain a long career at this stuff, because it's hard. It gets really hard when your stuff's not good, and when the pit crew might be struggling, or when the car's not handling like you want it to handle. It's crazy to me, and I wish I would have learned what I know now. I think there's a bunch of songs written after that, but looking back, and you don't want to have to do that, but it's something that we try to help these younger guys understand. It's like drivers like Kasey, drivers like Ricky, they show up and they do the work in the gym, and it's not by coincidence that people rely on them to drive their race cars for a very long time. Right.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for both of those guys, and I've always thought it's since you and I had met, thought it was super cool that it's like, man, you working with Kasey, and I know how much he respects and cares for you, and I just the limited of times that I've been over at your gym and at Ricky's place. At the time, I'd see Ricky in there, to your point, at 5 a.m. and it's like, man, he's all in, and it could be right after a race, it could be right before a race, just doing his work. So I definitely think that's pretty cool. One of the other questions, and I know you shared a couple of those, but what is, and if you don't want to share all your secrets, I get it, but what is the most insane training session workout that you can think of that you've put a driver through? What's like, you're like, I don't know if I'll ever do that again. And it could be like obviously in layman's terms, right? Because I might not know half the stuff you're talking about, because I sure as hell aren't going to do all that. But what's the most insane workout that you've put someone through that races?
Well, so Ricky and I and one other person, we did a mile of burpee broad jumps.
Yeah.
So that was,
golly,
that was not a good experience, right, for anybody involved.
So someone at home, like, walk us through exactly what that is.
So we went to I reached out to a local high school, and I was like, hey, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., myself, and one other person would like to go use your track. It's in the middle of the day, but I get it's school grounds, whatever. Like, will we be able to use it?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sure, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
go ahead. And so we started on lane 1, right at the start finish line, and you do a burpee, right, which means you drop down to the ground, right, and then you get yourself up, and your feet are where your hands are, and then you do a broad jump, so you jump as far as you can out, and then when your feet land, you drop down and do another burpee. So you
did that for a mile?
We did that for a mile. Now, that's not like a normal driver workout, right?
I started sweating even thinking about it.
But that was, I'm telling you, we were 200 meters in, and we're like, oh, we got 3.5 more laps of this. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know. It was miserable. It was by far the worst thing that I've ever done. And
did y'all make it to the, I mean.
Yeah, we made it.
Whew, what kind of shape? Who was in worse shape?
I was in the worst shape. I was in the worst shape finishing. Ricky did really good. Handled it pretty well. He was a little bit beat up.
Did y'all stay together the whole time?
Oh, no. Ricky smoked everybody.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How long does something like that, just, and you might not remember, but just roughly, like
how long?
Couple
hours.
That's insane.
Yeah, a couple hours. So Ricky was a little bit beat up for a few days after that. I felt pretty decent the following day, but both of my quads cramped up.
Yeah.
One started like in the middle of lap 2, so I was favoring it using the other one. And then in the middle of lap 4, the other one started cramping up, and coming home, I was like, I'm like 40 yards away. And so I was just kind of ripping. And on my last jump to cross the finish line, literally my legs were locked up. There's a video of it. I think if you go way back into the archives of Ricky's Instagram, there's a video of me finishing. They're all 3 of us finishing, but me finishing, I'm literally locked out when I land on the last jump. It was wild.
How many years? When was that?
That was 2 summers ago. So not this past summer, but the summer before that. And then the year before that, we did. So David Goggins does 4 miles every 4 hours for 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah, I remember y'all doing that. I definitely didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, so we did that the year prior. But we changed it a little bit because we were like, started doing the math, and we're like, man, we're like real close to doing 2 marathons in
Yeah.
those 24 hours. So we extended a couple of the runs. So we got 26.2 miles in each day.
Yeah.
But that was also pretty miserable. And a lot of drivers joined us on that one. So there was multiple drivers on that.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so that's the craziest and the worst. There's other like usually more traditional methods,
Right.
workouts that we have done. There's one in the off season is usually our time that we can really beat on the drivers a little bit. And so we did this one. I named it. So that's wild that I named it. I don't know. I guess I figure if it has a name, it's got to be pretty bad.
Right.
So the first Saturday of the off season, I kind of came up with the plan going into it, and I knew we had to work into the full workout. We weren't ready to just attack it. And so I called it the third Spartan, and it was like a mile, and it ended up being like 50 pull-ups, 50 push-ups. There's a bunch of different exercises in it. But the last Saturday of the off season, we did the full version of it, which ended up being 3 miles and 150 reps of all the different exercises. And that one was pretty bad too.
Yeah.
It took some people an hour and a half to do that.
I'm shocked you have people, and good for them, showing up on the first off weekend, I guess, of the year. Because we've been going since, Cup's been going since Easter. I know Xfinity and Trucks, ARCA obviously has had some off weeks. So that says enough that obviously you can bring some people together and get people to work like that, especially on the first off weekend. I will not be there for that this year either, as committed as I need to be and getting back in there. But, switching gears a little bit, obviously, like we were talking at the start, something that was super important to our driver management portion of our company was just always finding ways to help our drivers be better, right? And there's obviously different programs out there and that are connected with OEMs and all that, but like you and I have had such a great relationship, and I know that a lot of the messaging that we talk to our drivers about, behind closed doors and trying to encourage them and finding ways to maximize their opportunities. I know that you share a lot of those values, right?
Sure.
So we come in here and we build out the gym. You start coming in here and putting a program together for our drivers specifically, no different than some of the other ones that you work with. I'm very thankful for that. I think, high level, like what stands out to you about making the most out of a driver athlete? Like, and what is a routine, what does the best routine look like to you, just from a days of the week standpoint? If you're racing in Cup, like what stands out to you to where you're like, okay, I want to do this. Say if it's a Cup driver on Monday, Tuesday, when are they resting? When are they recovering? And when are they sprinting? And when are they lifting, right? Kind of break that down if that's okay, without, like I said, without giving up all your stuff.
No, 100%. So for a Cup guy on Monday, that's our recovery day. Bring them in, might do some light cardio to start off with, and then some mobility work. And then we usually put them in the sauna, cold plunge. We have a PEMF mat here, so we use that as well. And it's strictly just recovery. We're not trying to accomplish anything besides get their body ready to perform again.
Right.
Just because it's a long time to be in that position, it's pretty grueling, and we want to get them feeling better sooner, because then we can actually work, right?
Sure.
And recovery is work now. There's a lot of research out there now. It's just as important as how much work you put in.
Yeah.
So we try to spend all of Monday doing that. Tuesday and Wednesday would be some days that we can kind of grind. Tuesday is typically a lift day for those guys, and it could be your traditional lift, or it could be what I like to call a cardio lift, where there's some type of interval training mixed in with the strength training. And then Wednesday will be our high intensity interval training, right? We're trying to get the heart rate up really, really high and then let it recover. Yeah. And that's just trying to get our system ready to when we have those spikes, be able to handle it, but then also let's recover as fast as we can too. Mm-hmm. And then Thursday is a little bit more of a aerobic cardio session. We can also lift then too, depending on what their time schedule is like. I do like to sneak 2 lifts in if we can. And then Friday is kind of mobility, get them off to go and ready to go race.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's super helpful. Like, I think just there's so many people out there that are looking for like the right things to do. And when you start thinking about younger drivers that are trying to get going and
Right.
like understand, okay, what do I, if they're in freaking California and they're not located here in North Carolina, it's like, where do I even begin? Yeah, I can go on a quick jog and
Right.
go run a little bit, but like what's next and what's important to get your body ready to compete at a high level. So I appreciate you sharing that. One of the other questions I had too was, you know, as you're talking through building these programs out for young athletes, older guys like us, like
Me, yeah.
what is like, what are you looking for? I know you touched on it a little bit, you know, with your relationship with Kasey, Kahne, and Ricky Stenhouse. Like, I think it's easy for drivers to say like, okay, Ryan, like train me, like help me get better, you know,
Right.
help me build muscle, help me build endurance, help me recover. But like, you got to be looking for things out of these guys too, right? It goes
Sure.
both ways. And what are some of the things and I guess the qualities in some of these drivers that you're like, I want to keep working with this guy,
Right.
or maybe you don't? Like, what
Yeah.
stands out to you and what you're looking for out of the drivers that you're going to work with? Because, I mean, not to speak for you, but it's like you're putting your stamp on them as well because
Right.
they're part of the work that
The
you're
brand.
doing,
Yeah,
right? Like they're
100%.
representing you just as much as you're representing them. So
Right.
what are some of those qualities just personally and professionally that you're looking for in drivers that, like, who do you want to work with, right?
Sure.
Like what are some of those things that stand out?
I mean, going back to what we talked about, like, you know, kind of the differences between Ricky and Kasey and some of the other drivers, right? Like, obviously the best clientele would be somebody that is ready to come in and push to the wall every single day.
Yeah.
Right? And with those guys in particular, you almost have to take care of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, today we're not trying to do that. We want to do this today. And it's almost like a little bit of a battle for those guys, right? Like, I don't really want to do that because I want to go hard if I'm going to be here. So you almost have to make sure that they're willing to pull back on the reins a little bit. So those, obviously, the guys that come in and want to work really hard and want to work every day, those are fun to work with.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're going to get the most out of them, and they're going to be, quote unquote, the best billboards as well, because they're going to be walking around and they're going to look the part too.
Yeah.
Right. So I just think really if you're ready to come in and push to the max every day, those are the fun ones to work with. And those are obviously the best clients. But man, it takes some time to build that rapport sometimes too, right? Because like you're kind of at your most vulnerable point in there, right? When you're struggling, that's kind of when the worst qualities come out that you have, right? Like as everybody, me too.
Yeah.
And so you've got to have a rapport in order for people to put them in that situation in front of you, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it takes time to build that. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't. Like with Ricky and Kasey, they are like, all right, let's roll. And
let's go.
Whatever I say, they do, and we just kind of roll. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes some time to build some rapport and some trust, right? There's got to be some trust there too.
What, I guess along those same lines, like how do you might not be able to answer this one. How do you navigate working that's those individuals, right? Highly motivated, focused, determined, passionate, driven, proven, driven, born to perform. Like, how do you navigate when drivers aren't motivated? And I know that might be a loaded question. Like,
right.
I know some of that just comes down to probably the relationship, but it's like, okay, like we're here, like you're going to get left behind kind of thing? Or is it, do you try to encourage them to get back in here and get back to work and not make it so, I guess, so much of a decision on how their Friday, Saturday, or Sunday goes, whether they're going to show up or not? Right. Like, how do you navigate that? Do you just try to keep it more of a personal relationship and feel it out? Or is it a deal where like, all right, man, like we're not here to babysit, we're going to roll on? Like, how does that work for you in your mind?
Yeah. So
I'm putting you on the spot, but like, I think it's interesting, right? Like, because your time's valuable too.
So I try to figure out a way to kind of, I mean, a lot of it's mental, right? And there's a lot of people that you've got to figure out how to get inside their head a little bit. And so I try to figure out what will get them moving. Yeah. Right. And some days they're just bad days, and we all have them.
Yep.
And so it's like, hey, this was the plan for today, but we'll do this today instead.
Yeah.
but you know that we have to do this now tomorrow, right?
Sure.
Like, and when I was younger, I was probably maybe a little bit arrogant, and I was not flexible at all. I was like, no, this is what we're doing today.
Yeah.
And I don't care how you feel.
Yeah.
If we got to push, pull, or drag you, we're going to get you there. Right.
Yeah.
And so having a little bit more flexibility, like, listen, this is what we have to get in this week. Right. Cause I've been with most of my guys for a period of time now.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay if we need to do mobility and recovery today, but we still got to get intervals and strength in. So that kind of gives them a little bit of an opportunity to be like, hey, I don't have it today, but I promise I'll come in tomorrow. I'll be ready to rock tomorrow.
Yeah.
I just don't have it today. And so I think that helps a little bit. As far as like in the middle of a workout, if I lose somebody and we start to kind of trail off a little bit.
Been there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I try to bring them back in and get them refocused and try to push and give that energy. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. Right. And ultimately it's on that individual. It's my job to try to get the best out of them. But sometimes the best that day, that's what the best is that day. Right.
Sure.
Younger me was like, no, that was a crap effort. You didn't give anything. You didn't bring it at all today. Right?
Yeah.
Like completely disappointed.
Yeah.
But more mature me sees that as, that might have been all they had today. Right. And I understand not everybody's got my makeup, right? Like I used to throw up after every quarter mile that I ran in track, every single time for 4 years, brother. Like,
right.
Knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And willingly got into the blocks and was like, here we go. We're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Right. Like
getting after it.
Yeah. And so, and there's probably a bunch of people out there like, man, that guy is not intelligent. Why would he do that? Right. Like, so.
No, you're just committed.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that not everybody has that makeup. And so everybody's best looks different on a different day.
Yeah.
Versus like comparing to what I would do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that probably helps as far as building that trust too, going back to that. Like if I don't expect them to do and give the effort that I would give on an everyday basis, but I accept their best for that day. Like, hey man, we had an experience this week where a driver was like, man, I'm sorry about today. I kind of punked out.
Right.
And I was like, no, man, it's all good. Like you gave what you had today.
Yeah.
And we come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like the workout didn't go well. I know the workout didn't go well. That's why you're saying something to me about it.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, that's what you had today. Right.
Yeah.
Like, so it's okay. Right.
It's more like getting here and showing up and being committed to that process. Right.
Yeah. And like one workout that's extremely difficult, or you gave everything that one workout, that's not going to make the difference in 365 days.
Right.
It's the consistency. Even if you have a bunch of bad workouts in there, you're still here.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that makes sense. I think for the clients that you work with and the drivers, athletes that you work with, but also I think if you're a kid at home, boy, girl, whatever, as far as like trying to have that role model from a work ethic standpoint. And if you had to pick one person that you're like, okay, if you want to try to make a go at this and you want to be dedicated to racing, because it all ties together, right? Like I've heard the phrase many times, and you and I've had a lot of conversations about this, is you're gonna race the way that you live, right?
Yep.
And you're probably gonna live the way that you race.
Yeah.
And so the reason I say that is if you had advice for, some of the guys and girls that you work with right now, or some of the other, young drivers that are out there, like who in your mind is the one driver that you've worked with that you're like, that's the role model? And not to single out Kasey or Ricky or any of those guys, but like seriously, if there had to be one, it's like if you're going to use their same playbook, their same determination, and kind of seek after mimicking yourself after them. Everyone's different, but who's the role model? Who's the one?
Man, that's a tough decision. Kasey and Ricky are really, really similar.
Yeah.
And love racing.
Yeah.
Right? Like they've got a bunch of things in common when it comes to career path and things like that, but like they both love to race. I mean, Kasey's been retired from NASCAR since 2018.
Yeah, so currently Ricky would be the guy. Yeah.
Right. But also Kasey's been racing his dirt sprint car since he retired.
Right.
Right. So it's like, and he doesn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. He does it because he loves it. So like, I would say those two you would want to take a look at.
We'll double down on the question. So Kasey and Ricky are going to be calling me after this.
You're going to make me pick this.
They're going to be calling
I'm
you
also
first.
gonna get a call.
I'm not worried about them. They're going to call you. So this works out good. Who's more competitive? Or who's the most competitive individual that you've worked with? It could even be from up in Indy. It could be.
Oh, man. I would say it's probably a 3-way tie between Kasey, Ricky, and Scott Dixon.
Dixon.
That'd
been pretty cool working with him.
Those three. Dude, that guy puts it, again, similarities, right? That guy puts it on the line every time he walks in the door.
Yeah.
And he probably does it. I don't know him as well as Kasey and Ricky,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But I'd assume that he does that in everything that he does.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty plugged in.
Yeah.
No, it's super helpful because it's like, I think we always talk about even trying to help our drivers here. It's like, who's the role model? Who sets the bar every day? And if the goal is to be the best for us in the NASCAR community, the best in the Cup Series, it's like, okay, if they're setting the bar, you got to go beat them.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're not going to beat them in here, how are you going to beat them out there?
Yeah.
Right. So it's. I wish I would have done this interview with myself a long time ago. I'd be freaking Cup champion.
Right. I will say this, though. Speaking of being out there, one of the things that Kasey did say at one point in time, he's like, man, when I have a top 5 car, I don't need you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
it's just easier.
Like,
yeah.
That thing will drive itself, basically. Yep. He's like, but when I have a car that's 15th to 25th and I'm trying to drive it to 10th, that's when I need to work out.
Yeah.
Right. And so and I would say, Ricky's along those same lines. Those guys would drive the car as hard as they could drive the car. Right. And try to finish better than what the car is.
Sure.
And I don't know if they've ever once said, I just wish I had better equipment.
Right.
Right. Like, and they've both spent some time in some cars that we knew were 15th, 25th place cars, right? And so, like, they're trying to drive it to 2 to 3 spots better, sometimes more than that when they do get finishes. But, like, I think that's a big difference between a lot of some of the younger drivers, I think, and some of those older drivers where, like, oh, if I just had better equipment.
Yeah.
Well, the equipment's the equipment, right? And
what are you doing about it?
But what you can only do so much, but are you doing your part as well? Right.
Yeah.
Versus being like, I'm 25th, so I'm just going to roll around 25th.
Yeah, I've said that, like, for sure about both of those guys, just knowing them for quite a long time. And look, I think it's a direct reflection of the work that you've done with them too. I know you're a piece of that puzzle for sure. That they always, if they have a decision and a choice, 9 times out of 10, they're making the right decision and choice for their career, right?
Right.
Which obviously starts out with the foundation of who they are as athletes, which is getting to work and being prepared and getting their body right to go battle, right? So I definitely have the utmost respect for those guys. I think that, that kind of leads me to one of my my last question is, if you had advice to the younger generation of, up and coming NASCAR talent, what would that advice be? If you had their ear for 3 to 5 minutes, what is your advice and the importance, obviously, of everything that you do in here, working with them, coaching them? What is your message to the younger generation that you're trying to establish the foundation first, right? Like, what would that message be to our younger group?
Love the process, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody gets caught up on what happens on track, but that's an accumulation of everything that's happened that week, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, meeting with your team, watching film, the sim, it's all part of the process. And again, I was never a race car driver, but I did play college athletics. And so the process is semi-similar. Right?
Yeah.
We watched film, we practiced, that's the sim, right? We had game plans and things like that. And sometimes everything goes bananas and you have to redraw that game plan in the middle of the game. And the same with strategy on race day, right?
Yeah.
So you got to love the process, not just love the game or the race, right? Because if you don't, then the race is going to be mediocre.
Yeah.
And even when you win, it's going to feel semi-empty.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you didn't work for it and you're not in the middle of it and you're not grinding on a daily basis, you're not really putting the effort in it. You're just kind of showing up and getting lucky.
Yeah. You're waiting for it to go good.
Yeah. And so I think trust the process, right? And love the process. You got to love Monday through Saturday if you're a Cup guy, right? And then Sunday is just the result of those days put together.
Yeah.
And sometimes it goes really good and sometimes it goes really, really bad. And then you just go back to the drawing board and start again next week, right?
Yeah. So
that's probably my biggest advice or my slogan, right? Love the process.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Like I said, we started this thing up months ago and the whole goal was to put some good out there and help educate people and help people understand who are the people that, quite honestly, we think have made a difference in our racing community and our industry. And you're definitely one of those at the top of the list in my mind. I see the work that I've done with you that has helped me tremendously, just one-on-one, right? And grinding out and working out with you and spending time with you and learning from you. Definitely inspirational. It's motivational. But I've always appreciated just your character and your mindset. And I see drivers, like I said, that we've worked with that have gotten involved with you. And if they're really wanting to be better, they have the opportunity to be better. Right. And so I'm very appreciative of that. And I think that speaks for itself. I think anyone's kind of crazy out there in our motorsports community that's not working with you. So I appreciate what you do. I just wanted to spend some time catching up with you and just learn more about your thought process behind your profession and just what makes you tick. So you help me every day. I need to dive into our relationship, especially in this room, a lot more. So let's plan on doing that. But I appreciate you spending some time.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.